Anyhow, we
Anyhow,
brushed upon your UFO encounters, but we didn't really go deep into it.
yeah, we didn't really. Where will I begin? It's like obviously,
You were
I
saying that from mid July towards like beginning
yeah,
of August, you had more dreams there that were like really intense.
yeah. They intensified.
Were they
Ever since.
getting worse?
Yes, they were getting worse. Okay, so it all officially started. Well, officially, it's not official because I had these things happening to me years before. But I never wanted to really admit that was the case. I always thought, no, it's just an entity. It's just, well, they are interdimensional beings.
Hmm.
But there's a difference between interdimensional being and an entity. So um, I always thought like it's just entities, like psychic attacks or sleep paralysis, that sort of thing. So I
Yeah.
didn't really pay much attention. Um, then the 24th of August, this weird thing started happening. I don't know what caused them or why the 24th of August, why that day. Is I went to sleep and I described this on my video on my YouTube channel because it just left me so shocked.
Yeah, I'll
I
link it
had
to underneath the video so people can see it.
the things I it's so shocking to this day because I didn't think this. I just almost cannot explain like what caused it, like why this started happening so intensely. But I woke. I was like in this like sleep state, and I'm always in this sleep state, but I'm always so awake at the same time. I can
Hmm.
see everything. I just can never move. And suddenly I see this being. I remember just when you're like sleeping and you can obviously feel things around you and it's almost like you're paralyzed. You
Hmm.
can only move your eyes, really. I felt like I could just move my eyes and I could just remember these lights flashing through my window, from my bedroom window. And I thought to myself, like, I was getting annoyed because I was very tired, but I thought, like, what idiot is flashing car lights into my window? Like,
Yeah.
who's doing that? Like, I knew it was the middle of the night, and I just got so annoyed. I was like, this is really annoying. Like, I was tempted to even go out of the house, of the apartment, to just shout at this person, like, what the fuck are you doing? Let me sleep.
Yeah.
And then it kind of and then I think I passed out after because I do remember thinking, hang on, what if it's not car lights? And it was
No.
just that split second that I thought, what if it's not that? What if it's what I think it is? Nah, cannot be. But then I saw the same night I saw this being that I can only describe with very tall, kind of, if you can picture how gray aliens are looking like,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
it wasn't a gray alien. At the
Was
same time, it
taller.
looked tall and white
Hmm.
skin. Have you ever watched Salad Fingers? As a
I know the
can
creature from,
picture.
yeah. I know, I can imagine that.
Definitely the eyes, that was all there. The head shape, I saw this picture of the Nazca mummies. Not the small ones, but the big ones,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
white ones, the one that's like sitting like this.
Yeah.
Definitely, it has to be the same phenotype of
Hmm.
like the same creature. Um, but this creature that was levitating on top of the roof, there was a black cylindrical object that was standing beside this creature. And this creature, when this creature looked me in the eyes, and when I looked into this creature's eyes, felt like contained every information about me. But my dear, everything that this creature knew everything about me.
Mm.
And very obvious, was very clear to me that this
You
I'm,
were the
I'm,
target. Like
I'm
you.
trying not to shout because
Yeah.
I'm trying not to traumatize people living with me with these stories. But at the same time, it's such an encounter that I will not stop speaking about this because it left such a shock in me. Basically, I felt this creature contained every sort of information about me,
Hmm.
everything, and I felt like I knew this creature from before. It's strange. I felt like it's showing itself to me now, but it's almost like I know who it is, and
Yeah. Like it was
Um,
visiting you
before,
before.
this is the first time I've actually seen it,
Hmm.
because sometimes it shows up to, and then I realized like that in some dreams it's hard to explain. They almost camouflage so they're not so scary. You know,
They
they put
come
us,
in human form.
yeah, they come in human form because otherwise you'd be scared shitless,
Less. Yeah.
basically. So this time it really decided like I'll show you what, like my form. And I was up, so I remember like starting to panic, and then this, like as I'm starting to like, oh fuck, like, starting to have a panic attack, basically. Like, you're so scared. Like, imagine seeing this standing in front
Mm.
of you. Like, what do you think? Like, obviously, you're gonna shit your pants, basically. And obviously, it knew I was starting to feel scared, so it does something that it just numbs down everything you're feeling,
Hmm.
so you're not feeling scared.
Hmm.
And then it speaks to you telepathically.
Hmm.
That was very obvious. There was no words, no,
The
like
the
there's no
mouth
language.
mouth is also very small.
Very small.
Yeah.
It's kind of small, and there's no language.
Yeah.
There's only eye contact, and
Thoughts. Yeah.
yeah, there's only communication through eyes, basically. And the eyes, which they generally describe them having black eyes, but this had glowing eyes,
Hmm.
glowing light, golden light, very powerful, kind of like felt like I was being X-rayed,
Hmm.
basically. And that's where I was told, like, now we're going up, you know. And I remember the feeling of just going up was like, it's almost like feeling makes you sick almost, because
Hmm.
you're like kind of, I don't know, I can't describe this feeling, but I felt it many times, just feeling like physically sick from the change in, I don't know where you travel, but you clearly travel somewhere. And I
Yeah.
just remember this time it was significant because it was showing me so cute.
Come on, Kitty, time to go.
This time future events were almost shown. That's what I felt were some type of future
Wow.
events. I just saw lots of like bad things, like something that looked like a catastrophe. And
For the planet?
yes, I definitely saw some type of like major event that to me resembled
Did
9/11
it
a little bit.
did it looked like you're watching the Earth burn through the windows of a spaceship?
There was definitely what I can describe is fire and chaos
That's the vision
and
I had as
explosion.
well very recently.
Okay, so we had.
Mhm.
So tell me about this vision, actually, because I
Sometimes I
wasn't.
have
Yeah,
random visions, but
yeah, yeah.
very often I had visions of myself within like this spaceship,
Hmm.
and I'm lying on a bed, and everything's white. Everything
Hmm.
within the spaceship is white. So the
Hmm.
padding on everything, the walls, everything is super white. And there's windows on the spaceship, and I could see the earth burning. And I know I'm leaving.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I am not sure if this is a memory from before,
Hmm.
because I have a feeling that Earth already survived a huge,
Hmm.
huge like apocalypse, and it's something similar to a flood, but this time was everything was burning. It was almost like a nuclear attack.
Yes.
That might as well be future.
I, to be honest, I had a feeling it was a future event,
Hmm.
but I will admit I'm not 100%
Hmm.
sure,
Hmm.
because all I could see was just this fire and this. It's almost like something exploded.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
like huge. Like it wasn't just like, oh, bad weather, or I literally like saw I remember seeing these papers like flying, like almost
Mm.
something explodes and there's like
Hmm.
papers flying
Mm.
everywhere, and
Mm.
just remembering like lots of fire, and I'm obviously being shocked by all of that. And then for a reason, and I have no connection to America whatsoever. I mean, I just do follow
I kind of
politics.
feel like I saw America burn first as well,
Yes,
which was
it
funny.
straight away there was a connection
North
that
America,
was
especially.
mentioned. Yes, actually, yes, that was
Fucking
mentioned.
hell.
Straight away was mentioned America and the um, around whatever energy. What was shown to me was the 15th of November, and then I thought, okay, so that's where the elections are. So I thought, okay, then something's going to happen around the
Oh
election time.
no.
But nothing really happened around the election time. So I was just like, okay, 15th of
Sometimes it's
November.
the patterns of things
Yeah,
that
exactly. So maybe it could be a number or it could be the month.
could just be the
And
person that's elected.
I swear I felt America, 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 America. I was like, okay, so
Mm.
whatever begins in America.
Mm-hmm.
That's that much. I 100% sure saying this, and I hope in a couple of years when we rewatch this video, we will know.
I,
I hope not.
I hope Earth is still here.
I hope not, but we will rewatch and think, okay, this all made a lot of sense. And then obviously, I don't know why I was shown that. I really don't know, but probably to,
Sometimes you
you
pick
know,
up things because you're so sensitive. You do that telepathic
yeah,
communication works both
mhm,
ways. So it
it
doesn't
does.
have to mean that they wanted you to see this.
Hmm.
It's maybe you picked it up.
Yeah, probably because definitely, the whole purpose of the encounter was to take my eggs.
Mhm.
It was not to show me anything, and I don't know how. I just saw it. And you know what I saw? And I'm still looking for that symbol. I want to know what the symbol is. It's a symbol of um, what looks like to be a scorpion, but it's not a scorpion, but it's some type of um, reptile. It's an insect mixed with a reptile symbol, and it goes it's like a circle, and this thing is inside this circle. And I don't know. I've never.
That's very strange.
Mhm. It's
It's
almost like
almost
a scorpion,
a
but it's not a
mask.
scorpion, but it's a snake, scorpion snake
Is it a
in a
mask?
circle. Hmm?
Is
Sorry.
it a mask?
Um, it definitely has patterns that's supposed to like I actually wish I could have someone here
Draw it.
beside me can draw that because I
Yeah.
couldn't draw that, but
Yeah.
it's like in the middle of this circle and it starts like and the shape of this scorpion kind of goes in patterns that's forming a pattern. Yeah, you
Mm.
can technically say it could be a face, but I
Like
couldn't
something that
can't.
you would put on your face. I don't know. I just
It's
had a
something
vision.
you would put on a body to identify something.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a
Almost like
pattern,
a patch.
And that was I I believe one of the. I'm assuming it's one of their symbols, and I remember specifically the main reason why I was there. And I do remember I was naked because I felt it. Definitely, they discussed between themselves. Now, as I said, there's no language that was used, but
Hmm.
the discussion was my ovulation date and my eggs and my fertility was my discussion. Now, you could always argue and say, oh, maybe you're concerned about this in real life, so you're dreaming about, like obviously all sorts of. And I'm never saying like, you know, whoever says this is an idiot or whatever. It's just what I felt was really really discussing. It was very medical kind of
Hmm.
fertility,
Hmm.
taking eggs. When is the next ovulation date so we can do this? That was the whole thing that was kind of like in my mind. Now I don't know. It was just a thought in my mind, and I remember that there was this mirror, and when I stood up to look at myself and I saw myself in the mirror, and I had this like almost like a procedure that was done around my abdomen, like laser marks kind of
Hmm.
burns,
Hmm.
and I could clearly see that. And that's when I started panic because I got so upset. I was like almost like, what have you done to me? Is this
Hmm.
gonna hurt me when I wake up?
Hmm.
But it's always like they always try to make you feel very calm, like, no, don't worry, it's not gonna hurt, you're not gonna see anything, it's okay. I know it looks painful, but it's not gonna be painful. And I was like, okay, but I was still like
I
almost,
didn't consent to this. Like,
yeah, like I didn't consent to someone doing this, even
yeah,
even in a dream. It feels so invasive, and
yeah, yeah.
it felt like a procedure, like, you know it there's one way I'm gonna describe this, and You know, when you open up, I don't know, I just feel the need to say this. You're opening up someone, and then to repatch, instead of stitching it back together, you're using laser to close the wound. I don't know if
Mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm.
what surgeons do. I think they might do. I don't know. Do we have that technology? I don't know. But
I
there was a
don't think
technology that's
so.
able to close a wound with just laser. And it's
Don't
so
think
thin,
so. We have
very
that.
thin, but it leaves almost like burn marks.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly what, and there's an instrument that is used definitely to, um, as the same way we use stitches, you use laser
Mm,
to close it up. And
mm,
it's very, it was done very neatly, so I couldn't see the cut,
yeah.
but it still irritated my skin. You
Mm.
know, that's what I saw. But then you know what? Actually, as I'm talking about this now, you know what I just saw in my head? Cattle mutilation.
Oh my god.
You know, like when you think about it, it's that perfect incision
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
looks like laser, because you cannot, not done with a tool, you know. Yeah, it's and anyway, after that, that was very brief, you know. But that happened. I feel like it all happened. There's no time, like there's no. It didn't happen. It wasn't hours. It
Yeah,
feels like a second, but it feels like an eternity at the same time. So it's almost like no concept of time.
yeah.
And you just go back, and I woke up. Oh my god, I woke up, I felt so ill that day. I was so sick. Like I felt like someone has given me anesthetic, you know, like sick, nauseous. I'm feeling like I remember having the whole day I had blurry vision.
My
Like my
god.
vision was blurry. Like it's almost like when you're drunk, and then you wake up and you're like,
Mm,
oh
mm.
fuck, I had a little bit too much to drink last night.
Yeah.
That, yeah. But except like I stay away from alcohol, and I don't like how it makes me feel.
Mm,
I just like to stay sober.
mm.
And obviously, occasionally I will have like a glass or two or something.
And regret it.
That feeling, yeah, and I regret it for the next 5 days. Die of hangover from two glasses, but okay. But yeah, that was the feeling. Definitely felt sick. I remember was it the day after that I had to go. I had a road trip planned to go. Just have a road trip to this forest, and I remember like we went to have this road trip, and I like was walking. I was feeling so sick, like it's almost like this feeling of like you either have too much to drink, or that's why people would tell you like, oh, you're pregnant or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, of
That
course.
feeling, like morning sickness, like, ugh, I just feel like I couldn't really eat, and just food smelled. And I remember the sense of smell was so intense. I could smell everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was so crazy. And then, even people were asking me like, are you sure you're not pregnant? Because like it's really weird that you're feeling this. And obviously I wasn't, obviously, but it was just like, I would come close to food. I'm like gagging. I can't like
Wow.
and it was like that for weeks after. Like, and hearing sounds very, very loud, and sense of smell that it's crazy. And obviously these dreams then continued, up to the point where I did the hypnosis then
Mm-hmm.
with the UFO woman from the United States. Actually, she actually came to me in such a weird way. I was part of this alien abductee group because I started being suspicious. I'm like, come on, is this just my dream? Can
Yeah,
it be,
yeah,
right? Like it's
yeah.
too much. And I posted I made this post in the alien abductee group, and I was asking like, look, just for anyone to tell me that, yeah, it's just a dream. And then I had all these people telling me, no, it's
It's not a
Darling,
dream.
that's not a dream. I'm sorry
Mm.
to say it's not a dream. We all have it, and it's very obvious patterns. And then this woman saw my post, and she contacted me, and she's like, look, I want to do a session with you because obviously it's traumatizing you, obviously.
Yeah.
And that session actually kind of, it really helped me. I don't know what it did. It just opened something up.
Mm-hmm.
It opened up like my realization that like this is very much real.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, it kind of started, all these people started coming, like people that experience that as well started coming to me. Now I'm talking to them. I'm talking to this person from America right now. He's sending me pictures of orbs, like
Yeah.
orbs, like, and I'm not talking about drones, very different thing from
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
orbs that seem to be intelligent enough to kind of like, he almost has a feeling that they are communicating with him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
very obviously, So, this, I started just like, I don't know, when something is so easy in your life,
Mm-hmm.
when something is kind of meant to happen and everything that happens is easy, and
Yeah.
then people come to you and you're getting, you know, you get people asking you, can I do a hypnosis with you? And then you watch this hypnosis back and you're like, wow,
Wow.
this is not me talking. Like, this is something else talking.
Yeah.
Because I do not remember this hour session. I have no idea what I talked about. But I talked about, I even let my sister listen to it. And my sister said, you sound, first of all, you don't sound like yourself, because I am aware that English isn't your first language.
Mm.
And the way you speak in this video, your English seems
Perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
The coherent
Yeah.
robotic voice that's coming out of you, it's almost like not you at all, because she
Mm.
knows me very well. And I don't talk like that. And then seeing the constellations, being able to name constellations. Like, I'm not, okay, I do astrology, but I'm not very, to be honest, I'm not very
You're not
knowledgeable.
an astronomer.
I am not an astronomer. I am an
Exactly.
astrologer. I know you
Yeah.
should know constellations, but
But
I pay attention more to planets,
exactly. Yeah.
Uranus, Jupiter,
Yeah.
the ancient planets, that
Yeah.
we know. But the fixed stars and constellations, I'm not really like knowledgeable
But
about.
you
You know,
see, like, I actually have a similar story. Not the same in any way.
yeah.
It's like it wasn't an alien abduction thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
but this is a thing also that I've seen when you see I started investigating my mother's family line,
Hmm.
especially women's family line, because there were certain things that were happening throughout that line that were
Yeah.
just repeating from one generation to another. The first one was tons of diseases, like physical ailments that, my grandmother had tons, my mother had
Hmm.
tons. I
Hmm.
don't know the person, my grandmother, nobody knows anything about her. But, you know, two generation and also my aunts and everything, everybody's sick. They're all very spiritually gifted and they have chronic pain.
Hmm.
Um, and I've had this as well ever since I was born. So I was
Hmm.
like, okay, is this a physical thing? I tried to change a lot of things regarding my diet, regarding exercise. Nothing worked.
Hmm.
It didn't have, like, maybe it made a tiny bit of a difference, but things would eventually go back to where they were.
Let me guess, they diagnosed you with fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you
And
go. Same as me.
I mean,
Yeah.
I never got the diagnosis, but I would
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
get it if I went. And,
Hmm.
this ankle pain and things. So, as my last resort, I started like thinking about it in a spiritual way. So I was like, okay, I do feel the energy where this is coming from. I was like, I can see it is like a very murky water energy, like dirty water, like a swamp. So I will just meditate on that energy and I will see what comes.
Hmm.
Okay, so I sit down and I start meditating on this energy and I see a spaceship
Wow.
with
First
these,
thing, spaceship. Yeah.
like, you couldn't
Yeah.
make this up. Like,
Yeah.
who
Like,
would
why do you see
expect?
spaceship
I
first?
wanted. I
You
was
know?
thinking I will
Yeah.
see my grandmother,
Yeah.
mourning over a grave of her. I'll see something connected with the, you know, someone from the family, not a spaceship. And these guys, the tall grays, but they had like a tiny bit of a bluish complexion rather than gray or white.
Hmm.
Or maybe it was just the light from the spaceship because like the spaceship was behind them. And I see my ancestors, like my family, my female line, giving babies to these guys. Their babies. And I'm like,
I mean, what do you think seeing you, like, how do you react seeing
yeah,
it,
like very like physical
Yeah.
babies. So, and I see, and sometimes I have I have this, like, my visions are so vivid, so sometimes I have narrations in my visions where somebody's narrating the story almost like a movie, right? And I hear this voice saying that they formed a pact with them to give them babies, and they would come for regeneration, and uh, after some time, because they weren't giving them physical babies anymore, they would just come and take whatever they want from them, and that's why they were so sick. And I wake and I'm like, I go back from it there, like, what the fuck was this? And I disregard it, right? And the next day I call my dad, and I don't even know why I told him this story. Is I wouldn't talk with him about spirituality at all. And he was like, you know what? When your mom was pregnant with your brother, she would wake up like in dread, screaming, they're coming for my baby.
Oh my,
And she was like,
that's
um,
just crazy.
she told my dad, there's these creatures coming to take my baby. So I mean, like, this wasn't crazy, obviously, anymore. After I heard that, I was like, wow, okay. And after a while, I learned that this contract does not apply to me anymore. But
Mhm.
I carry the pain and the trauma caused by this.
It's the same thing that the hypnotist I worked with. She said to me, I never experienced abduction. I've never experienced anything like that. It's almost like she was saying, I don't have a contract. I don't have anything to do with it. But I'm working with people that have that. And everybody is, no matter what kind of creature they're seeing or the way they're abducted or whatever, everybody says the same thing that's just repeats in every single hypnosis.
Yeah.
Whether it's a different experience, but they all say the same. Um, and she said that I personally haven't been abducted ever. I hadn't had any experience, but I want to like help people deal with this because obviously it's affecting thousands of people. If even people that might be watching this thinking, you belong in the loony room, you little loony
Totally.
tinfoil. uh, Maybe you're getting abducted and you don't know because
Hmm.
you can't
You
know these
can't
things.
know, yeah,
You
yeah.
can't. You're just you think that's the problem with us as a human race. We think we know. uh, We think we know our world. We
we
don't.
we know just even
Little bit.
those that see things don't see the
Mhm.
entirety of things.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, that was very
Mhm.
interesting, and it was funny because, like, in that vision, the way I saw my ancestors is they thought these guys were gods, and they were like,
Yeah.
they thought it was their obligation to actually give them their, almost like firstborns or
Yeah.
something like that.
They did think they were gods, but
But
I
they were
think we're.
deceiving them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. And okay, some of them are our creators,
Mm.
but some of them weren't. So
The
yeah,
ones that asked for babies definitely were.
no, definitely weren't creators. They
Yeah,
don't need our babies, and they don't need our eggs and whatever
exactly.
they need. So
Yeah, but it was funny because, like, also through meditations and spiritual work, I could find a lot of devices actually stored in my body as well, like especially in my reproductive system. And I've seen a lot of people saying that they could find like things in them.
yeah, some
um
people find very physical things that, funnily enough, when they do go, when there is actually a surgeon that is willing
Willing
enough to
to
even
look at
touch
it.
it,
Yeah.
because most doctors and surgeons they see that they're like, no, shut up, don't talk about it, because
Wow.
you'll get fired.
Wow.
So some surgeons and some doctors were brave enough to like, let's try to extract this.
Mm.
And some doctors were able to actually just, and they could never really identify what that is. There was a video actually. It's actually the Manhattan alien abduction on Netflix.
Wow. Is it?
It is. I
I'll
think
have to
it's
check that out.
because obviously there's a few episodes. And there's one. I think there's one episode that describes this doctor trying to get this implant out of the patient, and the implant kept moving deeper into the flesh. It
No.
has intelligence.
Wow.
It will do what it wants. It will try to escape the surgeon or the doctor. It's trying to actually it travels through the body like it's crazy. Like this
Mm.
is personally I've had X-rays and MRIs and stuff like that because obviously like trying to get to the bottom of what's making me so
Yeah.
feel so ill sometimes, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and could never find anything.
No,
Nothing,
same.
nothing. And it's always the same with even doctors. They kind of like, I cannot explain your symptoms. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
even like some of them really tried. They scanned every part of my body possible, and they're just like, "I'm
I
sorry, I can't help you." And I'm like, "Well, I guess I can go screw myself, basically." But now we have identified with our conversation that some of the symptoms I'm having are very much spiritual.
yeah. Yeah.
That's why there's no physical evidence,
Yes.
you know.
Exactly. No,
And
same
now
here.
it's starting to make so much more sense. And I'm actually feeling more calm now because I know that I don't always have to look for the physical to explain certain things,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've done the work I have to do. Like I've changed my diet, I've doing yoga, this and that. Like I'm taking lots of supplements. So in this sense, I've done my job, so it should
Mm,
work.
mm, mm.
But then it's very much spiritual. Obviously it can manifest itself physically at one stage if it becomes too much,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's crazy, like, because I do have this ability to look within myself, and then it was so strange to find things inside me that didn't belong there, and taking them out actually relieved the physical symptom.
And sometimes these implants are very like they're on another realm.
Hmm.
They're not like they're like almost like an object of energy,
Mm,
not of
mm.
physical. Like doesn't exist
It
physically.
doesn't exist in the physical
Yeah,
world, but it
yeah,
still does the harm. Like,
yeah.
oh gosh, no, I even when I look into other people, I sometimes, like, find things that shouldn't be there. It's so strange, and some things we can even carry through different incarnations. Like, they're
Yeah,
from the
no,
past lives. Like,
that's it's just crazy to think that there could be. I'm actually fascinated. I'm not even scared of that.
mm.
I'm fascinated. Like everything that's supposed to be scary. Like I'm your woman. Anything spooky, here I am.
you
Call me.
know, the
You know.
definition of occult is the hidden.
Yeah, the hidden, exactly. And then there was this guy on my YouTube saying, uh, cult and occult, pretty much the same thing. No,
Not
I'm sorry,
really.
but not
No,
really. But
occult
okay,
is about
whatever.
self exploration. Cult
Yeah,
is about following the rules made by
yeah,
the cult.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Occult and cult. Um, so yeah,
I mean, like, I know everybody's like, we have this dogma. I think in the Western society is if you go too deep into spirituality, that you're gonna go crazy. You know that
yeah.
it's a very big dogma, almost like.
It, it's actually when you're very spiritual and when you go into materialism too much, this is when you feel like you're going crazy.
Mm, hmm,
Like
hmm.
I understand people that just don't have that and they feel because being in reality is very safe. You know where
Yeah,
you are, you know where you
yeah.
stand. I get that. And I get people that unfortunately they have lost their minds,
You have to
in some
have a
cases.
very solid first chakra
Yes.
to do spirituality. You
Yes.
need to be very rooted,
Hmm.
or else you might get lost up in the upper chakras
A
and
good
never come
practice
back.
a good practice that was actually taught to me by my friend that were she's a psychic. She lives in Wales. She's actually brilliant, and I went to her meditations when she was still living in Ireland, and she taught me such a good meditation, just imagining the flower spinning in your first chakra
Hmm.
and imagining you're just building roots that
Yeah,
go
all the way
as
to
deep as
the.
the bottom of the earth.
Yeah,
And every time even when I'm feeling disconnected,
yeah.
like today I went shopping and I'm walking through Tesco and I'm like, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. Oh, it's interesting, like nice world out there. And I realized like this is how you go crazy because you're too much up there. And I made this. I was like buying stuff and I was uprooting myself in Tesco. Like I need to uproot. I need to go back to reality now. And then like okay, and then I felt better. Like okay, now I'm doing my shopping. What do I need to buy? And but in one moment I was feeling like ooh, like, oh, I'm floating around all these, like, oh, I'm feeling this woman has this, and I was like, oh, no, 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 stop, stop, stop. You're here to shop. You're not here to read and,
Analyze
and
people.
analyze. So, but
Yeah.
I understand people that, especially if you like take drugs or if you take psychedelics,
No, no,
and
no,
then you're
no,
like that already.
no, no,
That I've always stayed away from that for
no.
one simple reason, is because that can make you crazy so quickly, and
Yes,
it's so dangerous,
it
and
is. And it shouldn't be
people need
done.
to be careful, like
Like
super careful.
ayahuasca, maybe with
Mhm.
someone that knows what they're doing. So not
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
fake guru that
Mhm.
learned how to do this
Yeah.
month ago, right? So someone that's, and they're not going to let you as well if they uh they look at you and they're like, oh, you're not ready for this, so they're not going to let you even take it if they don't think
Mhm.
you're ready. That's the only thing I would consider. But like, honestly, I don't need that. um I even had situations where someone would take mushrooms and I would take them by their hand and just travel with them. So I can just easily take someone's energy and just experience the same thing. Like I don't
Uh,
I don't need it.
like same. And when I became very conscious of that, because I have this friend, and she's a big hippie. I love her to death. She's amazing, an amazing woman.
Yeah.
But she always used to tell me, like, oh, you should take psychedelics. Your life would be much better. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I've
no,
been
no,
said that as well. I was
no.
like, you don't know me. Like, I took like normal mushrooms, like chaga mushrooms, and I
Mhm.
wasn't feeling well from them. So I'm not taking
I
anything.
tried, the microdose of
Yeah,
psilocybin.
yeah.
I didn't feel good. Oh, I
No,
felt so bad on
no,
that. And
no,
it was
no,
just like a
no,
microdose. And people are like, oh, that's not supposed to make you feel like
no,
chill.
no,
No.
no.
Did
Everything that
exactly
works
the
good
opposite.
on you
No,
guys doesn't
no.
work on me.
Yeah, it doesn't work on us, no. And then, but I understand why she's taking psychedelics, because she's very, very down to earth. She's
Mm,
a very like she's obviously like she likes the spiritual, but she doesn't dwell there. She's very,
mm,
very super down to earth
mm,
woman.
mm.
So when she takes psychedelics, it does bring her to
To the
that
higher,
place where she wants
I,
to
I
be,
think,
and it's
I think
for her. And I understand that,
we all have this urge to spiritually connect because this is our essence. Like we are also a spiritual. We're also spiritual beings. We're not just flesh and blood, and we all like urge to reconnect back to that. We just don't know how.
Yeah.
Mm.
Some people less, some people more. But when I see these ayahuasca retreats for 500 euros done by these people that have required uh, a coach diploma in like a day, and now they're administering the same dose of ayahuasca to everybody. First of all, it's working in pharmacy has taught me that everybody needs to have their dose of a medicine.
Yeah.
You have to measure someone's weight. You have to measure someone's heart. You cannot
Mm.
just give medicine to someone like that.
Yeah.
So just them administering the same dose of ayahuasca to everyone equally, without having consultations of their psychology, having an input into their health, super dangerous.
Yeah.
And then you have people freaking out at these retreats, because obviously, and then they're like, oh, just go calm down. They don't even offer guidance. It actually helped to one of my helped it happened to one of my friends. She was left to freak out
Oh
all night
my
on this
gosh.
ayahuasca, and she was seeing spiders in bed.
Oh my god.
Super bad, like super bad trip.
A bad
And
trip. Yeah.
she actually, as she had such a trip, she went to this guy and asked for help, like, can you help me, like, get out of this? And he's like, oh, just go calm down and like stop bothering people, just go and sleep. And
Oh
she was like,
my
I'm
gosh.
freaking out here, dude, I paid for this.
Yeah.
And I hate people like that. I'm just like, how dare you charge people money to leave people at their worst when they're freaking out, like.
Kashish told me, unfortunately, a lot of these things are happening in India, like as well,
Mhm.
and then in the East, where there is a lot of these spiritual gurus that only are looking for money, They don't care
Hmm.
about you. You know, as long
Yeah,
as you
they
pay,
really
it's
don't.
okay. And unfortunately, this is the product of this
This is why, like,
capitalistic state of the world.
I always say, like, I would rather go to South America, like, if I could, obviously, but I can't.
Mm,
I would rather go there and actually find a shaman that lives
mm,
in the jungle,
mm.
or in whatever place. Go
But you
whatever
don't
place.
need it.
You don't need it, But if I really wanted to do
Yeah.
ayahuasca, I would rather seek a person living in the forest that knows
Mm.
exactly the dosage and knows. But someone just there was um, this like spiritual. It's like a Academy of Merlin or whatever they call it. It's called. I don't know if you you
Sorry.
stumble upon. I just
I swear.
it's like a
How many
mystery
names can
school
we
of.
have?
It's the Mystery School of Merlin or something. I'm sorry. I have to laugh as well.
Sorry, maybe they're legit. It's just
Well, they're actually not because they have been
ah,
exposed now all over the social media.
Jesus
These
Christ.
two couple, they're Canadian. I think they are probably Gujarati Indian, but they live in Canada,
Mm.
and they are just like the embodiment of a huge inflated ego,
Oh
charging people
gosh.
thousands of dollars to attend retreats and letting them down, and like they don't really care about people. And it's saying like, if you're not in our super high vibrational vortex, you can go fuck yourself. And that they're actually hiring people to do their laundry and clean. It's like, I have to break your ego, so now you're gonna be my maid, and I'm gonna break you, so you become enlightened as I am. Super. I mean, obviously, no words for that.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and actually, when I started watching their YouTube videos in the beginning, I was drawn to like what they were saying about the intergalactic federation and stuff like that,
Hmm.
which was interesting. So, but then I always felt like the way they spoke to the camera was like full of ego,
Hmm.
So I stopped watching them, and now seeing this video pop out, like they have been exposed. Like I just knew it. I just knew they were like
So,
not doing
sometimes
this for spirituality, but for money. It's a business strategy for a lot of people.
it's also really really hard to build, like I was thinking myself
Hmm.
of doing something like this,
Hmm.
but combining like psychology and spirituality, and that's ultimately would be something that I would love. But you need to be very careful, because like the media is just waiting to like crucify you, just to
Definitely.
find something.
Yeah.
You're like, even
Yeah.
Till Swan, there was this documentary about her where
About
they
her. Yeah.
used every single bad thing that they found about her to like make her a bad person. And like some of the things were really like taking out of the context, and she's not perfect. Like you're never going to find like a spiritual coach that is like
Yeah.
100% perfect, but like her strategies are, I
Are
think,
working.
decent. They
Hmm.
work because she did this. She combines
Yeah.
spirituality and psychology,
Yeah.
and and she's still growing as well. She said like, "Oh, I still have tons of things to work on." So this idea of this like perfect spiritual coach and a person that is like pure and everything is perfect about them or her. It's also the image that we build through media. You know.
Yeah, definitely. It's you have to be so careful nowadays because anyone can just take the worst part that you said and edit it into a video that's
Even
like it
even
makes you
in
look
this
like a shit
podcast,
person.
you can make
Yeah.
us look crazy
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
silly
Yeah.
and egocentric. It's
It's funny because at one point you realize, okay, do I like want to inform people about this, and do I want to talk about something I'm passionate about, or am I just too worried I might come across as crazy?
true.
And at first I was like, oh, I'm kind of like afraid people will call me crazy. But then I asked myself, okay, if people do call me crazy, then what? What's gonna change? Like,
Like the
you know?
story of David Icke.
Hmm.
He was like almost like a famous person before his
Hmm.
book came out, and
Hmm.
uh, you, you know people were laughing at him on the street.
Mhm.
So it's not like he was like a random dude
Mhm.
that published this book and started talking about conspiracies. So he was like a famous football player that later became a famous reporter, and then all of a sudden he's like, everything is conspiracy, and people are like, he was
Yeah,
called into this show, and he was like made like a public mockery out of him.
poor guy.
And I don't think people are laughing anymore.
No. We
It's
come,
like,
if society comes to a point where it's no longer a conspiracy, is it?
it's like, like I went to
Mhm.
his presentation, probably it was around like, I'd say 15 years ago, and a lot of
So
things.
you actually went to see him
Yes,
live in
in
person. Oh
Zagreb.
my!
I
Oh,
went to see
that's been
him.
my dream.
Yeah, yeah. I went to see
Yeah,
him
yeah,
there. I
yeah.
was like barely scraped the
Mhm.
money for the ticket and everything. My
Mhm.
friend went with me, and I was like, when I discovered him, I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like, he's I didn't buy his whole thing about reptilians until recently, to be honest with you. But
I don't think anyone did.
apart from that, I kind of like, through years, his theories. Gosh, he was right. So like, he's like, nobody's laughing anymore. So
And that's what happens with most people that are labeled crazy and lunatics. Then just people just don't laugh anymore because
yeah,
it gets real.
yeah, shit got
There's
real
actually
and fast.
um, I was watching. She's maybe not as known as David Icke, but her name is Elena Danan,
Mm-hmm.
and she's this French woman. She's used to be a successful archaeologist. That's how she started, and she had this like enlightening experience, and now she's basically an advocate for the Intergalactic Federation,
Mm-hmm.
which it sounds crazy, but she's all over conferences all over the world, and they try to discredit her in such a bad way, saying like that she's faking and everything. And at one point you have to accept, obviously, if you expose yourself, at one point you will draw enough attention that you will get people
Criticism.
compiling, editing videos and criticizing you. So
That's
but
okay.
if you can, but I like the way that she moved beyond that. Like she didn't focus on it too much. She acknowledged it. She didn't focus on that too much, and she just kept doing what she's doing. And actually, I think last year in I have to, sorry, I just have to pull up the name of this conference, which I'm hoping that I'm going to attend this year because it's been my
Oh yeah, it's
dream
the
to.
link that you've sent me,
Yeah,
right? It's
I
in
just,
London, right?
it's, yeah, I think it's
Someone in
definitely,
UK.
yeah, it's in London. Let me just see my bookmarks. Show, what's the name of it? Okay, so I have it here. Yeah, so it's called the Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection of 2025. It's actually going to happen in Eastbourne, England, on May
Uh-huh.
10th.
Uh-huh.
And actually, Elena Danan is going to be the one speaking, and there's going to be an insider from the government speaking as well. There's
Wow.
going to be lots of people that are like a UFO experts and so on.
Cool.
So I'm planning to attend this if everything goes well. I'm trying to. I hope the tickets don't run out too soon. Um, and it's interesting because that actually happened last year as well, this conference in the UK. Or no, sorry, I think it could have maybe been, if it wasn't the UK, maybe the United States. And she has promised people, she said, and everybody's like, well, if you're working with the Intergalactic Federation of Light or whatever, the one that are the keepers of the earth, so to speak, then just give us the physical evidence, because at this stage you're talking too much, you're never showing us like they're actually here. So she said, okay, cool, I will actually invite them to show themselves to everybody if you don't believe me. And it's so crazy because after the conference she said, okay, they're gonna like do this thing in the sky, and actually there was a spaceship that
Wow.
actually flew for everyone to see, like
Wow.
and this is when everybody started believing her as well. It was like, holy shit, she was actually right, like this thing
Hmm.
exists. And she said, yeah, like obviously we're aware that we're having a conference, and I've asked them, please can you show yourself to people, because they're not really believing me. And actually, I watched the video a couple of days ago. It was crazy. Just people are waiting. Suddenly there's like, you can see this like UFO kind of lights, green
That's
lights.
crazy.
There's just, and they were all kind of formed almost like they were flying together. everybody could see them, and you could just hear people being like, "Whoa, this is actually real." And she said, "Yeah, well, I knew they were going to show up because I asked them." And so she's so sure of herself. And I actually watched one of the first videos she posted like 4 years ago, when I guess she had this awakening that happened to
Mm-hmm.
her, and she almost looked a bit crazy, like, "Oh my god, this happened to me." And you could see like this weird thing in her eyes, like she just didn't really know what was happening. And then if you look at her videos now, she's completely like embodied, like, "I'm not crazy, I am seeing this and I am part of this." And she's like
Mm-hmm.
so into her energy now, she's so confident because she
Mm-hmm.
has embraced that. Yeah, I'm not gonna like fall to that category of like, I'm feeling something and I'm seeing something,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, obviously, there's always a very thin line between, you actually might be suffering from a mental illness,
Yeah.
which can happen,
Yeah.
But as you mentioned as well, if you're grounded enough, if you're not letting people bully you into believing something that goes against what you feel, then I think you should be fine.
Yeah.
And if you obviously have, you acknowledge that you have protectors by your side. You're not
Mm-hmm.
born like a vulnerable little chicken. You have
Yeah.
an army of ancestors and protectors, or maybe not your ancestors, but an army of astral beings that have chosen to be by your side.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you form, I mean, you know that yourself, because that's exactly how we got to the point of talking about who's beside us and who's protecting us and so
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like there are beings that are friends of humanity,
Yeah.
and they do care for us, and they care what happens to us, and they're deeply sorrowed with the state of
Mhm.
humanity.
And they're
Because
really trying to protect it. That's
yeah.
probably why Earth has handled it so long, because they're actually, I do believe, it's funny, I won't even say I believe, I wholeheartedly know that there is an intergalactic federation for sure. You know,
I mean, there's obviously
there's different
different
the
um how would I say, species.
protectors
Yeah,
species. Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Some of them don't like us, some of them like
yeah,
us. And
mhm,
I think Earth is a battlefield at the moment
yes,
in many ways, where, there's some that want to destroy us, or just like put us to the mere, point where they can
mhm.
just use our energy and use us as batteries, pretty much, as in Matrix. Or there's some that actually want to evolve us to the point where we can join, you know finally, other species, and be kind of equal to them.
Why I'm sure you're feeling this as well, but I'm constantly, even if when I'm doing tarot, I'm trying to find clarification into whatever is going on with the drone situation and the orbs. Again, two very different things. The government is also very responsible. They think we're idiots, and
Yeah,
we haven't learned
the
anything.
government is actually working with some of
Yes,
them,
of
mostly the
course.
enemies.
Of course. And do you feel like there's going to be literally like a sky battle? Like maybe not physically, like, but literally there's going to be like a war,
Yeah.
a war in the sense that a war between these species as well. Like they're also fighting, they're
Yeah.
also trying to. And what I felt recently, one of the dreams is the danger that was mentioned was sending signals into space a lot, because they're trying to find out whether there's aliens. You know there's aliens. You don't need to send
You
signals. And
work with them.
no,
Come on.
work with them. Don't think we're so stupid. But anyway, it's but they keep sending these waves, and it's attracting a lot of attention. You
Mm,
know, and
I.
some species, they have a big population, some of them have less,
Mm,
so it's very tricky, and not they don't get along, lots of them, they don't get along.
no. No.
It's always
No.
the same story, like even with people and races
th-
here on Earth, we
there's a
don't get
there's a
along.
huge debate as well, whether we're allowed to exist at all. And
Yeah,
this has been happening. I mean, this I'm not making these things up. Pick up your Bible, or pick up your like 12th planet,
yes.
and see the dispute over what's going to happen with humans. Because, like, uh, the Garden of Eden, where humans were like lowly slaves where they didn't have the rights or the mind or anything, and then they pick up the apple and get this capability of thinking for themselves, and the god is like, kick them out. Like we can't let them evolve to the point where they're going to be the same as us. And a similar thing happens in the Sumerian uh, uh, in the ancient tablets, but it's a bit like a fuller story where like there was not just one Eden, and these places were laboratories where
Mm-hmm.
humans were produced as slaves, as
Mm-hmm.
workers for the gods. And there was a lot of gods that they actually wanted to just create us as workers and then just get rid of us when the work is done.
Anunnaki, we're
Yeah,
talking, yeah,
yeah,
this,
yeah.
yeah,
And
one of
then
them.
there were other gods that because you have to understand, it was only a small quantity of gods that arrived to Earth, and they were here to dig gold, and the work was
Mm-hmm.
hard, and they were frustrated. This is all on the Sumerian tablets. So they were like, "Oh, let's create Adamu, or a simple servant,
Or I wanted to say, or in the Bible.
or in the Bible,
Yeah.
and we're gonna use him to dig the gold for us." At first they created only guys, but there was a lot of problems there because the guys started like sleeping with animals, and
some, some things never change.
this was in the actual tablets, is like they were like sleeping with animals, and then they were like, we need to create them a woman because this is disgusting, right? And then even when the woman was created, they were still sleeping with animals until they realized, you know like there's like this, it goes on forever. But basically it came to the point where like the question of humanity, like what are we going to do with them? And then there was certain gods that were like, we need to like destroy them, which they tried to do with the great flood.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was other gods like, oh no, this is our creation, like I'm we're their fathers and mothers, so we need to keep them, and we need to like give them everything they need so they can evolve. And like Noah in the Bible was the one that was chosen to survive. In Sumerian tablets there was another guy, which he was the son of the god, so it was royal bloodline, half
Mm-hmm.
human, half god.
Mm-hmm.
And you,
Yeah.
you, you see all this like this treasuring of bloodlines even in Western societies, the royal bloodlines, and
Blue
they
blood,
marry with
yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
And
The rest is negative as well, mentioned a lot
yeah, my
in one of
mom
the.
was a RH negative blood
Mhm.
group. I didn't
Yeah.
get it, but she had it. So interesting. So there was always like, even in Bible and in the old tablets, there was the gods that were friends to humanity and the other ones that wanted to exterminate us.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always the Bible. I think I will probably take time to read it completely, like at one stage, because I'm curious not to see all of these metaphors that um, uh, there are mentioned about the Elohim,
Yeah,
the multiple gods, not the
multiple
one
gods. No, no, God talks about himself in plural
God.
as well. And then if you talk with Christians, they're going to tell you that this is Holy Trinity, but there was no such thing in the Old Testament. There was no Jesus. Then who's the third one then?
And that brings me back to the chemistry class that I had when once again, I think it was 13. Once again, it's this pattern with this age. I don't know why. I was in chemistry class and I had a very religious teacher. Uh, I don't know how being religious fanatic correlates with chemistry, but science. But okay, I guess Croatia. you know
Anything is possible.
anything is possible there. So okay, she was talking about the creation of humans and like God created us and God, and I was just sitting there thinking, I'm in a chemistry class, I'm supposed to learn about science, but okay. And okay. And I just remember talking to her about, no, God is not our creator. The aliens are. But I was young. I didn't know how to word it
Oh
properly yet.
my
But
god.
the point I was trying to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
across. I said, no, the aliens created us, and they are our creators. And she basically, proceeded to
Kicked you
call
out.
the, she said, no, you're
Get
not,
out.
like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of person you are to even say that. She called the psychologist,
Oh my
my mom,
gosh. You
and
see?
she told my mom that that's so funny. She told my mom that I need to be like under this, not psychiatric but psychological evaluation, like, and which they did, and they were just bored with me because, like, what can we do? Like, there's nothing crazy like there, so they just sent me on my way.
Do you